I don't really fear as many symptoms as I used to, where I'd be like, I have to brace. Why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way? Oh my gosh, I'm so panicked. This is something that's wrong. Hi everyone, welcome to the Roman Collective podcast. If you're new here, my name is Trisha. I'm the founder of the Roman Collective. I'm a certified human design reader and also an intuitive. So I'm so grateful that you're here today. I was trying to think about what I wanted to talk about, and I think something that was so prevalent in my life now and something that has been such an ongoing journey is so much of navigating my health and how much that has really changed for me over the past few years. And I talked about this in episode 1, but you could always go back and listen. But in the first episode, I really talked about how every single area of my life was very much dismantled and I had to rebuild and restart. And my health was also one of those areas too. And it was something that wasn't anything that was super dramatic. It was one of those things I feel like was an ongoing journey and an ongoing learning to be able to really get my body back into its rhythm and back into balance. So this episode today is really for you if you are feeling a little fed up with some of the doctors in terms of if you feel like you're getting tossed around, if you feel like no one's really getting to the root of the problem, and if you are just looking for a different approach, or if you're just curious about like what else is out there. And I'm not here to say one way is right or wrong. I'm just here to tell you this has been my experience and this is what has helped me. And so I just hope that if you have this message that it might spark something within you, or it might help you along on your own health journey too, because I think there's so much information out there and sometimes it's really hard to be able to like understand like what is exactly for you. But you just trust your gut. You just trust yourself. You know you best. Your intuition is always guiding you, and your intuition will lead you wherever you need to go. And maybe your intuition led you here, just so you can have more of a different approach and someone who's actually lived it and experienced it. So you can understand and kind of see like, okay, I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only person who's going through it. And I also want to have a caveat too. I really want to say that I appreciate Western doctors. I think they are so amazing. They are just awesome. They are great. They know so much and they are so impactful. In regards to this conversation, I am talking more about our day to day, like more of like my daily life and more of like where my health was really at. And so I'm very grateful for every person on the journey. I just think for my specific journey where I was at this time, I think I needed a different approach. And I feel like I needed someone else to come in and to be able to like help support me. And so I think that Western medicine does an amazing job with surgery and emergencies. That is where they thrive. They're amazing. And I think Eastern medicine is really good for more of the day-to-day and like your daily life of what you're like needing and implementing into your lifestyle. You could do a mix of them. You can do whatever feels like is the right track for you. I just felt like my journey was really leading me to this place because I think I needed something that was so much more body-based and something that was very root-oriented, like getting to the root of the problem. And I felt like I was tossed around and misunderstood for a very long time. And I kept having all these symptoms and I was like, wait, like no one's getting to understand like what is happening. And I feel like I just really wasn't fully listened to. So that's not to say you can't find doctors who won't listen to you or people who won't understand you. This is just more so like I really felt like this has been my journey for a reason. And so where I really started to go down this track was I was living in Chicago and I was starting to have so many different symptoms. I ended up getting rosacea, which like came out of nowhere. And like you do, I went to a dermatologist and I was like, hey, like here's, the issue I'm having. And so they prescribed me with the cream to put on my face. And so I did that. And still really wasn't healing. And then they were like, okay, well, we will put you on antibiotics if you want. And at the time, I didn't really know. And they were like, well, this usually helps clear it up faster. So I was like, okay. So I was on antibiotics for over the course of a year, on and off. It was a low dose, but still, I don't think that really helped my gut, obviously. Taking all that for a long time, and I didn't really know the exact like understanding. And I feel like I wasn't fully told like that realm of it, right? I feel like we were more so just focused on clearing the rosacea instead of like looking at the full picture of my body. And then I was having a lot of gut issues, shocking, where I was feeling like my gut was just off, my gut flora, like things were just not normal, and like my digestion. And so that was another thing that was also very strange. And my body just couldn't tolerate alcohol anymore. And it's not like I was going out drinking all the time by any means. I was already kind of like scaling back anyway. You just, when you're in college and you just like go out more often on the weekends and you're just like, that's kind of like the culture. And then like once I was in my early 20s, I'm like, I'm done with this. Once I hit my mid and late 20s, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely done with this. But I think it also just like my gut and my body just couldn't handle the alcohol anymore. Like it just physically could not take it. Like I would just feel so sick. I would just feel just not good. And I would only have like one glass and I would feel so terrible for like a long time. So I was like, okay, well, that's not helping my body. So let's remove that as well. And then along that, I was on birth control for 8 or 9 years, and all of a sudden I had random breakthrough bleeding, and I was like, what is going on now? And I know my gyno told me to start taking like 5 birth control pills in one day, and they're like, okay, take 5, then 4, then 3, and they like, checked everything, and they're like, okay, yeah, you don't like your birth control. I'm like, okay, well, like, why? Like, I was on this for so long, I never had an issue, then all of a sudden my body's like, nope, doesn't like it. So that happened, and then my breakthrough bleeding came back, and then they were like, still didn't really have an option. They wanted to put me on a different birth control, and I was just like, I'm just going to go off of it for a little bit. And so I went off it, and then when I went off it, I was having some hair shedding, so clearly my hormones were a little out of sorts. And so I was having a lot of hair shedding, and I will say Nutrafol really helped my hair. I love that supplement. I feel like it just really had my growth going like crazy. So that really saved me during that time. Again, it wasn't anything that was super crazy, but it's definitely like a lot more that like I was starting to notice. That I was like, okay, why is there more hair coming off in the shower? Like, why is there more hair in my hairbrush? Just like feeling a little bit alarmed. And so all of this was happening right before I was moving to Austin. And I was like, oh, great. I'm already going through a big life change, then I'm like having all this stuff happening too, right? So at the time, everyone kept telling me, oh, you're just stressed about moving. And I was like, okay, well, I think something else is going on because this is happening before I was even considering moving. But, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to listen to what everyone's telling me. And so I moved, and lo and behold, I was still having some of the same issues. Things were still not healing. So when I first moved here, I was going to some different doctors. So I went to an allergist to help get tested for like celiac disease and all that stuff to really see if there's any food issues. And shocker, none of those were wrong or coming up as like I had an issue. And, he was like, I don't really know what to tell you. Like there's something that's really allergic. So I was like, okay, well, like, should I cut out foods? Like, what should I do? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, great. So then I went to the gastroenterologist as well. And they, again, didn't really provide much. They just told me to go on a low FODMAP diet. And they were like, we don't really know what the issue is. Like, the digestion's so big, so we're just going to have to cut out food. I was like, okay, you guys have, like, no solution, like, nothing to really figure it out, no testing. And so I ended up just removing food for a little bit. And I was like, well, like, where is this end in sight? They did recommend me to a nutritionist, so I did that for a little bit, too. And so, needless to say, I just felt so tossed around, where I was like, all my blood work is normal, like, but I'm not feeling normal. Like, I am feeling off, and I felt like I had to advocate for myself, and I had to be like, look, like, something is not right. Like, I know that something is really wrong in terms of, like, nothing serious, but I just know that there's something that's, like, trying to get my attention. And so I had gotten sick, just like a sinus infection, around December. And I was also moving at that time too. I moved apartments in Austin, which that will be another episode journey of that situation. And so I moved within like 6 months of already moving across the country. And so I moved into another apartment, and I got sick like 2 weeks later again, where I got a sinus infection. And that really pushed me, where I had seen this holistic place a couple years prior, or a couple months prior, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like keep this in the back of my mind if I really want to go to there. So I decided it was time. I really needed someone to look at my full body, and someone to really get to the root of what was going on, and someone to sit down and to actually like listen and to be receptive to what was happening, instead of, again, I just felt very tossed around. And again, I know that all those doctors probably had the best of intentions. I know that they were really trying to help. I know this is like what they felt like that they were taught to do and all that, right? But I just feel like I really needed a different approach because this just clearly was not working for me. I'm like, I am not having any success in this route. So I found this holistic practitioner, and they were honestly such a blessing to me. I am so grateful that I found them because they have taught me not even so much just about my health and what was going on, but also just being so much more in tune with my body and understanding my body. And I felt like instead of being scared of, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be diagnosed with this, or what is this causing, where I felt like I was more so taught in a gentle approach of whatever symptoms we have is just our body trying to get our attention. Think about it. When you get something of like, let's say your eye is just a little bit swollen. Who knows? Maybe you ended up touching a cat and you're allergic and your eye was just getting a little bit allergic. So your body's just telling you, hey, we don't like the cat's fur. We are just a little allergic. We can't be around cats, right? So like anytime there's a symptom, our body is so connected, like extremely connected. Our body is so intelligent. It is doing everything without us even telling it to. Like it knows how to breathe, it knows how to think, it knows how to like move, like it's doing everything. And everything is so connected, right? Like our entire body, like all our different channels are all talking to each other. And so it makes sense for when something is just a little bit off, it's just your body letting you know, hey, like I just need a little bit of help here. Or hey, my liver just might be needing a little bit more love. Or hey, my spleen just might be a little bit off right now. So it's really decoding your body's language and how your body talks to you. I think that has been the biggest takeaway that I've had of like, I don't really fear as many symptoms as I used to, where I'd be like, I have to brace. Why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way? Oh my gosh, I'm so panicked. This is something that's wrong. And then, the mind spiral. But instead now I'm really like, okay, this is just a symptom. All right, this is just my body letting me know that I might need to make a little slight adjustment here. Something just needs a little bit more support and more of my attention, right? And so I felt like this has just been so much more of a full lifestyle transition and understanding instead of like just fully my body. I think it's been everything combined into one. And I'm just internally grateful that I found this because I felt like I was finally heard and listened to. I feel like someone was like, we hear you, we see all these symptoms, and we feel like that there's a connection here. And I was like, thank you, because I feel like I was saying that for a really long time, and I feel like no one was understanding that. So I'm internally grateful that I found this holistic practitioner, and they do what's called muscle testing. And so they'll have more like the insight of like how to do all of that. They explain it so much more better than me, so I don't even want to butcher anything. But I will say when they are muscle testing, what they do is it's essentially your body's response. So they hold up your arm and then they will ask your body questions. And so your body will give yes or no answers depending on how the arm moves. And they'll place different supplements, different like packets on you to figure out like what is kind of going on within your system. And so what I also really appreciated, so it was like a very layered by layer approach. So the first half, you're really building your body up to be ready to detox. And then you really detox. And then the last phase is rebuilding. So your body kind of goes through like a full arc instead of like shocking it and giving it so much at once. It's instead like taking it in little baby steps to get there, right? Because especially if your body felt like that there's so much on top of everything, like the root is sometimes underneath so many other symptoms. And so you have to remove all those symptoms like the layer of an onion to really get to the core root. And so you can really get to that root. So that way you can actually like not be just treating all these symptoms over here. It's like, let's get to the core of like what is actually going on and help fix that, because that'll help the rest of it. So when I went in, not a shock. My biggest thing was my gut and my hormones were off. My adrenals were definitely needing some love. And our adrenals definitely hold a lot of that cortisol, right? So they're helping a lot of that. And so when those are off, sometimes then other things will be off. And again, our bodies are so connected, right? So like one organ might be trying to overwork for the other one, which then impacts the other one. And so I've been healing for a little bit over a year. And I am now in the rebuilding phase. And so at the beginning, we were doing a lot of building my body up to be ready. And so this was like over a year and a half ago or so. And so I was doing stuff to help rebuild my gut, so my gut was ready, and also just helping my body to be prepared. And again, there wasn't anything that was like so dramatic that I was doing. Like, this was just, again, little baby things that were just helping my body to be prepared. And it wasn't like I had anything that was like crazy or massive. Like, my body was still working normally as it was, right? It was just like, we're just doing these little things, and like my body was just slowly getting back into balance again. And I just felt so supported and so heard. Like, I just felt like finally, like, I'm just like feeling like I understand the process and I understand what's going on, and someone's getting what is happening. Because the moment I would get in there, I would go and we would talk, and they'd be like, okay, what have you experienced for the last few weeks? And I'm like, I kept every single thing in my notes app. I'm like, I had this symptom, I had that, I had this, I had that. And so we would obviously start to see like a trend over time too. But the biggest thing for me was really, I didn't know how to cope with my stress. I felt like I was never really taught of how to handle stress. I think as most majority of women are, I think we're very much taught people-pleasing tendencies. I think we're taught how to really just keep pushing through, and I think our society in general, and just any person in general, right? I don't think that we're really taught very well how to handle our stress. And then my hormones were also very off, and I think there's not a lot of information about women's health. I think a lot, and again, I want to say every single doctor is so helpful. I just felt like it seems like you go in and they give you birth control as the solution. You go in and say, this is wrong with me. Here's some birth control that can help with that. And instead, you're just not really getting to like, actually, well, why? Like, why is my body feeling this way? Why am I having these symptoms, right? Like, asking the why is so critical, because that is what's going to help you get to more of that like core root of something, instead of just putting a Band-Aid on the symptom. And so I just feel like I've learned so much more about my hormones and just like our women's cycles and just all of that too. And I also ended up going off birth control. I was on it. I went back on it for a little bit, and then I ended up going off of it again because I just intuitively knew that my body wanted to go off of it. And my skin was just starting to flare with acne, which I had like never really ever had. And it was just starting to come out of nowhere, and I was like, what the heck? And then I was talking to my holistic practitioner, and I was like, I think my body wants to come off birth control. And she muscle tested me, and she's like, yeah, it's time. And so we were then prepping my body to be able to be ready to come off birth control, because it's like 10 years of synthetic hormones in my body. And so we were prepping for that. And I think that the biggest thing still is like healing my skin, which has been, I've really tried to appreciate the journey, because it's been a very enlightening experience for me. I think it's also highlighted a lot of limiting beliefs, which we will discuss in another episode, I'm sure. But the skin is our largest detox organ too, right? So we have our liver. Our liver is like our powerhouse. It's like detoxing, right? Like that, just your body naturally detoxes every day, right? And so your liver is like very much like the powerhouse of that. And so when your liver is overloaded, then the other organs will then become overloaded. So then your spleen, who's also helping support, might become overloaded. Then your adrenals. Then when your body can't detox all that, it comes out through the skin, because the skin is the next pathway for your body to get rid of that. And I was trying not to get so frustrated with my skin, and I was trying to really instead appreciate it, of like, my body is just trying to get all of this back into equilibrium. And this is just the place that is trying to release all of that. It's just trying to release any bacteria, anything that is built up in my body that it just can't be able to process. So it's doing that so I don't have any further issues down the road, right? It's just trying to help to release everything so then I can get back into balance. So it was a lot of just reworking my approach to things. And so I also started to see an acupuncturist who's amazing as well. She has really changed my perspective on so many things. And I just think Chinese medicine is so fascinating, and I love it because it's just very in-depth, very like things that you can take that you can do in your daily life too. And so that's why I felt like my approach of doing both the holistic practitioner and the acupuncturist was perfect for me, because my holistic practitioner was doing supplements, and then we were also doing essential oils. We were looking at more of like my emotions and all that realm, because all of that is connected within there. And then my acupuncturist was more so getting my like light force energy back running again and putting needles in so my body can naturally know how to heal itself, because our body already knows how to heal itself. Think about it. When you are out and you get a cut, if you get a paper cut or something happens, like the body instantly knows what to do. And then a couple days later, it's healed. So like your body already has all this intelligent wisdom. It already knows. and everything is connected within your body. So it already is understanding like, okay, if this is off, then this might be off, and then this might be off. So we guys have to help this organ, so then everything else can go back into alignment. And then it just knows how to heal. So our body it has so much wisdom. And sometimes we just might need to quiet down to hear that wisdom. And the biggest thing that my acupuncturist told me, so in Chinese medicine terms, which again, I'm not super well versed in at all, I'm just going to tell you like my approach and my perspective from it of like what I had experienced. But I have a lot of heat in my body. And so what heat means is I very much am that like driven, go, like a lot of that heat will rise in my body. And what happens when you have a lot of that heat, it doesn't get like equilibrium, right? So it's like the heat's really running, but then it just needs to come back into balance. So my yang energy, which is like your masculine side, think about like your like power, your drive. You're like, I want to go and do these things. Take action. That is your yang energy. So like that can also be a lot of heat. So a lot of heat within that where it's just like always overworking. And then our yin side is more of our feminine side. That is more of our receiving, our flowing, our resting, our really just like recalibrating. And so our yin is very much like more of like a subdued, right? And so I felt like I was having more of that heat that was like a little bit too over the top. And my body was just like, whoa, it was just very overworked, very much trying to run on all cylinders instead of really taking the time to rest. And that was the thing that my acupuncturist has really helped me with, is she's really giving me some different tools to really help support. And so she told me, she was like, listen, I am starting to see a pattern. And I think it's not only your hormones, but also understanding how to have more time for rest, and how rest is something that you really need to build more time into. And especially from being in our society of that hustle culture, rest is productive. Rest literally is so productive, because when you rest your body and when you get that time to really have that downtime to just like be, sometimes you can become so creative afterwards. Sometimes you actually nourish your body, so your body is ready to go and take action to go do those things. Like that is so vital. And I realized that I was overlooking a lot of that, and I was like, wait a minute, I need to relax a little bit and just be able to rest in that. And I think once I started resting, my body just felt so much more expanded. And I think it just felt safe. It felt so much safer to bring so much more new opportunities in. And so this is your reminder that rest is productive. So if anyone's telling you rest, don't sleep, all that stuff, no. Get your rest, get your sleep, because that is so vital for you, because you're able to do so many things when you rest. And you're able to go and to like enjoy and to live life. And so I really was trying to honor my rest. And so she recommended to me that I do yoga nidra in the afternoon. So between 2 and 4, she's like, even if it's 10, 20 minutes, like just take that time to lay down, rest, and listen, and just relax your body. Because when you're constantly like go, you're like getting overworked, and your body's like, wait, I'm trying to keep up. And then you like then have all these symptoms, and you have like, your body's kind of like starting to like get into the track of like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit too overworked, and then symptoms keep popping up, right? So it's really just honoring that time for rest. And I also learned that our liver is so important, like extremely important, because your liver is your detoxing organ. So it's just, as I was saying earlier, like your liver is just naturally detoxing things. So what she recommended for me, so since the main thing that we're focused on is healing my skin, she recommended doing sauna for me. So like sauna once a week, or if you have like an infrared heated yoga class, those are great because those help the body naturally detox. So it's not even just for skin. Like if you were just trying to detox things or just help your body along its detox path, anything that is warm is great, especially for women. We need to stay warm. So socks on the feet, really being in warm, blankets, like everything, like staying warm is so critical for women. And it's kind of funny because I feel like I've always been naturally drawn to the warmth. Like, I mean, it's also the heat in my body. I don't know. But that's why I also wanted to move somewhere warm. So I love the sun, obsessed with the sun, because I feel like the sun just like nourishes and gives me that energy. It just like nourishes me. And so those were the couple of like those. And then I haven't done, but she did recommend Qigong. I'm probably saying that wrong. There's some exercises for those too that are also great too. You can do in the morning to help kind of get like the lymphatic and things moving as well. Also, for my skin, we also changed a lot of products. So I stopped doing a lot of the dermatologist stuff. I feel like the dermatologist things were putting chemicals on my skin. And so I felt like my skin was just very red underneath. And so we had to remove those and we switched to all natural. I can drop some of like what I'm using in the show notes too, but down below. So we changed to all like natural and like better products for my skin that are like more better to like release some of this stuff, help my skin along its way, and just stuff that is like more natural. And I will say a lot of my inflammation has come down, which is wild. And so we've helped out with that. And then I do red light therapy too. So I use the red light every other day. And then also dry brushing. Dry brushing is great. I love dry brushing. That's just like very light bristles that I do every other day as well for that. And so that just helps like clear the dead skin off your face and just be able to really help it stay brighter and help, again, removing and like your cells and all that to keep like rejuvenating a lot of that too. So that was stuff that we helped. And then in the food realm, so I drink bone broth in the morning and warm water. So warm water is so important because it helps especially first thing in the morning, it helps your digestion get ready. And so like cold water can be like a shock to the body, but when it's warm, your body just feels like, okay, like it's ready for digestion. It's just like a more calming. So warm water, bone broth. I also drink dandelion root tea. So dandelion root tea every morning as well. That helps as my body is also in the detox. So that just helps naturally to push things through. Also for menstrual cramps, chamomile is super great. Chamomile also helps if you have any cramps too. So those are just a couple food things. And then I also take these Chinese herbs. It's called Free and Easy Wonder. I think you have to get them through an acupuncturist. But it also helps regulate your cycle too. And also just like tracking your cycle. So I use the Lively Period app. That also helps me just to be able to like know where I'm at in my cycle. And then that is also how we notice with my skin, how I notice my body was having trouble metabolizing the estrogen since coming off birth control, because I noticed at the same time of my cycle was exact same pattern flare with my skin. So exactly as I was saying, how your body, like you just have to decode what your body is trying to tell you. You start to understand your body's language. And again, not of like intensely like tracking your body where you're not like, okay, body, like you need to be doing this and this and this. It's just like a natural, like, okay, I'm just gonna like notice. I'm just gonna observe what is happening. And I'm just gonna keep note so I can then start to see the patterns, start to see the trends. And we noticed, and that really helped because then I was able to tell my holistic practitioner and I'm like, hey, so I noticed like my estrogen's off. So I was able to get on a supplement that was helping my estrogen, right? And so all that stuff is just helping to like over the entire body. And then also in terms of food, so for skin wise, cold fruit in the morning on an empty stomach helps. No salads for digestion because anything, it has to be warm cooked greens. So anything, like everything has to be cooked, like all warm cooked foods besides the fruit helps very much because it helps your digestion. So when it's warm, it's able for the body to like move it through a lot easier. And then we've also done no red meat is also another one. And so from the holistic side too, ones that I was muscle testing for. So right now, since the end of October, to help get the inflammation down, I can't eat gluten, dairy, chocolate. So especially dairy and chocolate will cause, there's like some hormones in dairy that really flare up your skin. And then same thing with chocolate. There's also some, I don't know if it's because like sometimes there's some dairy in it, that can also flare your skin. So I remove those. And also oats. Oats can also be very hard to digest for the body. So I'm not eating oats for the time being. But again, what's also nice about it is they were telling me why we were doing this food right now. They're like, we're doing this to get your inflammation down. Because when I intuitively started to cut out gluten back in the fall. And I was like, for some reason, it's just not resonating with my body. Like I wasn't having any crazy symptoms. I was like, something's just not right. And so I started just intuitively cut it out. And then I had gone somewhere and I ate a bunch of gluten. And then I came back to Austin and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I had like my eyes were all red. My like hip was starting to hurt. And I was like, what is going on? And so I went in and they were like, oh yeah, it's the gluten. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we like muscle tested, my body was saying like, can't do gluten right now. I'm like, okay. So I cut that out. And so yes. Is it definitely a little bit tough to do some of this dietary changes? Absolutely. Do I know it's forever? No. Like this is not forever. This is something that is like right now just help support my body because a lot of these things were causing inflammation in my body. And it's hard to digest some of these. So it's helping our digestion because my hormones have to digest out. Like my estrogen, like all of that has to, especially our estrogen, that is what metabolizes through our digestion. So our liver really detoxes a lot of that estrogen to get out. And so if it's starting to get stuck or if it's having a hard time and then your digestion's also struggling, it's like a double whammy where it's like, whoa, okay, like my body's just like can't get rid of it at all. So when you're opening those pathways for my digestion to really move things through a lot easier, then the estrogen will have a lot of an easier time to get through too. And so I think as an overall picture, like this stuff has been so impactful for me because I'm like, okay, I can see the understanding of why. And I just had so much more comfort in knowing that like we're getting to the root, we're getting to the core of why all these symptoms keep happening. And I just like I was able to have someone to like hear and understand me. And I think overall, the number one biggest thing is our nervous system. And that is also what they are tapping into when they muscle test you. It's tapping into your nervous system. And so I'm sure that's like a hot topic right now, I'm sure, as everyone's heard. But just a little bit of stuff that has helped me through this time too, was understanding more about my nervous system. And so knowing that I think I was very much stuck in like a fight or flight for a very long time and not realizing it. And I think that's why a lot of this stuff has also gone a little bit haywire and why hence the heat in my body in Chinese medicine terms. But I was just feeling so like stuck and just I felt like I couldn't regulate and it was so hard. And so our nervous system has fight or flight, parasympathetic, which is our rest and digest. Sometimes there's like fawn and freeze, and those are also more of our like stuck states or chronic states that sometimes you can get stuck in. And so you need both, right? You need both. You need to be able to have like a rest and digest, but also to be alert. And that's how we can also do things, move our body, and to be able to like go and enjoy and like skip around. So we need both of those sides for our nervous system. But sometimes when you get stuck in one, that's when it starts to get a little bit like, my body is like starting to trend of like needing a little bit more balance. So things that really helped me during this time, because I learned so much about our nervous system and how our nervous system is really like the commander, right? Like our nervous system is very much like figuring out what is safe for us, what it feels open to do, what it feels safe to receive. And once I started to lean more into my rest, then that also just opened the doors for so many other things. And because I rested, I was able to do more for my business. I'm able to show up more for people. I'm able to host more of those gatherings. And I'm able to really be present for human design sessions. So all of that has really been a very eye-opening experience. And so for nervous system, so things that have helped me, a lot of the stuff sounds simple. So stay with me. Sometimes the simplest things can really bring so much change. Sometimes I will especially do a lot of walks. So I'll always do a walk during the day. Sometimes I will literally leave my phone and leave my AirPods. Like I won't even take them. Sometimes I'll just go and just be like, okay, I just need to just like fully be immersed. The sound of birds chirping is also a sign that we're safe. So sometimes hearing some birds chirp will be so helpful. And I do that. I also do yoga too. So I'll try to do some yoga classes. So somatic is great because a lot of emotions that we weren't able to process is also somatically in our body. And I always thought somatic was very hard. I thought it was something that was so intense, where you have to like do all these intense exercises, and I feel like you're just me crying all the time. But sometimes somatic work can actually be really fun. I will drop some other recommendations down below, some somatic stuff that I like too. And yeah, just like doing Yoga Nidra. Insight Timer has been a life changer for me. Insight Timer is a free meditation app, and so they have so many different meditations on there that you're able to really rest and to like regulate with. And so just like getting my sleep, electrolytes have been super helpful for me. So sometimes it's stuff that is just so easy and it just seems like duh, but like once you really have that core foundation, then everything else can really unlock and feel like it's so much easier to lean into. And so that has just been a little full picture of like my health journey with everything. I really hope that as someone is hearing this message, this might resonate something within you. You might feel a little bit more seen and heard if you are experiencing anything of these type of symptoms or just anything in general. I really do believe our bodies are so connected and they're just so powerful, and you can really be able to move and heal through anything. And whatever your body is going through, it's just your body is just letting you know, hey, just needs a little bit of love and support here, just needs a little bit of guidance over there. And if you decide that you want to go down a holistic track, for me, I think it's been so life-changing. I think especially lifestyle-wise, I think it's been something that has really created a lot more understanding instead of just throwing band-aids on some symptoms, throwing some quick solutions at things, because sometimes that can be great and other times our body just might need more. But the biggest takeaway I really want to give is that you know your body best and you know your intuition. So whatever you feel like is going to get you to the other side, great. Move forward with it. Do it as long as it's not hurting anyone, as long as it feels good within you, then do it. I just think having so many different avenues, I feel very grateful for, to be able to have more ways to really be able to expand upon and to understand. And I feel like I have really changed so much of understanding. I just feel like my body just feels a lot stronger. Like my body is just rebuilding. I feel like it's feeling a lot more in the phase of yeah, I still have some lingering symptoms. I feel like we've really cleared out a lot, and I'm just so grateful for my body and for my journey that it has led me here. So just sending so much love to you and your body during this little chat today. And I will be dropping any of the tips or just recommendations or places. I can also drop some of the places that I go to here in Austin if you are locally around town, if you just need any more recommendations for places. But sending you guys so much love for the rest of your day.